In this video of the Better Photography Weekly Challenge, we will be discussing the winners and honorable mentions of the contest Illusions. Our judge and mentor is Mr. Katragadda. He is a Mumbai-based artist whose work explores communities, environment, and personal memories. Using photographs as a starting point, his work involves layering them with found materials, text, fabric, and drawings. He graduated with a master's degree in photojournalism at the University of Texas at Austin and started his career as a photojournalist in New Delhi. He has also received the Invisible Photographer Asia Art Award in 2018 and is the co-winner of the Alkazi Photo Book Grant in 2020. His editorial features have appeared in many publications, including Geo, Stern, Vanity Fair, and the BBC. Hello and welcome.
Thank you, Nilofer. Okay, thank you, Nilofer, for this very interesting photo contest on illusions in photography. I really enjoyed looking at this amazing set of works from people, and especially, those photographers who managed to shoot it during this pandemic where you can't travel much and there's so many restrictions. It's pretty awesome that people came up with some very creative solutions and creative way of shooting. Maybe it's also possible that people got a lot of time to think about creative angles and planning your shoots. So overall, the quality is pretty high, and I think the contest was pretty tough. For the winners, really made it after a tough contest. So let's start with the camera category first. So this shot by Angshuman Paul is one of those classic street photography images where you wait for the decisive moment, and there's some kind of a dissonance from what's happening. Like in reality, there's a guy passing by and there's a backdrop poster, and yeah, it's just the perfect moment to shoot this image, and it's a very classic image. So yeah, and it's well shot. Okay, Sagarneel Biswas's image is very gothic, and it's again great use of layering the sky and the interior, and also creating a mystery, a sense of foreboding, some despair. It could be like a Tarkovsky film shot, which I found it very interesting. It's like a very classic, maybe Hitchcock or 50s and 40s, maybe Rebecca, something like that. If you've seen Hitchcock's Rebecca, it could be one of those shots. So beautifully done. This is Ravindra Kumar Ji from Bangalore. Yeah, at first this picture is is it like a comet or a meteor, or what is this? It really hard to figure out what's going on, but it's kind of grabs your attention, and that's one of the things in illusions, where you want to surprise the viewer from something very ordinary scene. What can you make? What angle can you see it from to evoke a sense of wonder or a surprise? This is actually a pretty ordinary image of a duck floating on surface of a lake, and it's been turned around 90 degrees clockwise. So you have a mirror symmetry of the duck and the reflection. So immediately, the photograph, which could be very banal and an ordinary picture which you would not pay attention to, it becomes quite interesting just by rotating the picture. It's not a trick of the camera, but it's a trick of, let's say, viewing, how the Photoshop can rotate it or how you display the image. That has, made it brought in a surprise element in this image. So yeah, I found it interesting. Okay, Angshuman's is the second image by Angshuman, very beautifully done. It's again a very mysterious image, and also you can interpret this image in many different ways, also about a lifetime spent and what's the future, something like that. It could also be a very existential questions about life of a man. Maybe he's alone. There is a lot of sense of space in this, loneliness in this, but there's also a window which is pointing outwards. So this is a very beautifully done image, and there's a lot of interesting play of light in this, light and shadow, very beautifully done, as a black and white photograph. So I'm guessing this is a mirror involved in this, in a room with the reflection of a man reading by the window. Overall, and also the image is perfectly composed, where there's a lines meeting, image being divided into two parts, different things happening in each part, but at the same time they kind of interact and bring in a new meaning to it. So yeah, it's a beautiful image, Angshuman. Great. Okay, this is another fantastic image with play of shades, like tones. It's a kind of a mysterious. It's also a very erotic image, which I found it quite interesting. How without showing much, you can also evoke some kind of eroticism. And it's a beautiful play of it's black and white, where there is a sense of mystery, there is a sense of wonder, and also there's a sense of composition. There's a beautiful shadow also happening here. And it is a kind of a very interesting illusion. Soubik Debnath, this is an image I don't understand at all. And that's why I found it very interesting. There's no easy, I know what's happening. This is like possibly a fashion shoot, and there's a woman who's bending and you can't see the head. So it's like a headless woman, literally. But beyond that, it's like, suppose you wake up in the middle of night and you see this image, you have no clue what is this? Like, is this like some kind of a bone coming out of some, some landmass? I don't know. It's hard to interpret if you don't know how this image has been shot. So this lack of being able to put my fingers on like what exactly this image could mean, I found this much more interesting, because there are no easy ways of interpreting these images, and those images which I cannot interpret very easily, but at the same time they're challenging to shoot. It's a very aesthetically shot image, beautifully lit, very beautiful composition, and yet I don't understand it. So yes, it's a great image, Soubik. Okay, so this is a play on mirror symmetry, where zebras are like classic animals for mirror symmetries and mirror illusions, and you can never get tired of looking at those images. It's again a very beautiful image. It's something like an animal with two heads, and just about how many legs we see, 5 legs too, and yeah, it's kind of spooky but interesting, very interesting. Okay, so shooting on smartphone is very challenging compared to DSLRs, simply because the controls are not much, and anyone who's done illusions with smartphone, I would give double the points, because this is like really not easy. So Sannidh Raychaudhuri's is this image is again it's a very mysterious, very mystical image in a way. Probably an old mansion in Calcutta, I'm guessing, and there's a hand coming out of nowhere. So is it a blessing or somebody about to grab someone? I don't know. So there is a sense of mystery, which again this also has like a lot of noise on it, and also grainy and like dust spots. Looks like dust spots, but it could be from a mirror, the dust on the mirror, which is creating that illusion of like something dusty, hand coming out of a dusty atmosphere. So yes, it's a great atmospheric image, and also very mysterious. Again, a brilliant use of light and shadow. And the foreground is like, if you know MC Escher's work, the graphic designer, Dutch, and he does a lot of play with, this kind of illusions of 3D, where you don't know your own orientation. It kind of disorients you totally. So again, this man sitting here and there's a light falling on him, but is he sitting on a flat floor, or is it like some kind of he's lost in some three-dimensional space? So this is again a great use of light, and the foreground is fantastic, and the person's shirt. I would just suggest that if there's a huge if you cut this image diagonally, the upper part is almost like dark. There's not much happening there. So this is just a suggestion. It can be done in many other ways. This is a great image, but I would also imagine like trying out some other possibilities of maybe some hands or legs or some other objects floating in the space. That could even create some more interesting aspects to this image and make it even more mysterious and create some more meaning to it. So, but overall, I think it's a great image. Another classic image of billboard probably, and a kid near it, and then, but there's also like some elements which are like cut off, which is like actually possibly a woman standing next to the boy, and there's just a suggestion. So it's suggestive that there's somebody standing there. So there's a play of illusion and reality, and the kid trapped between these two. So it is a very interesting image that way. The image could have been cut off with just the left and the hoarding and the boy, but that would be like a very obvious image. So I would say that introducing those elements of some real person standing has actually added something to it. So yeah, it's good effort. Another brilliant use of shadow play. And if you've seen the movie No Country for Old Men, Coen Brother film. So that movie has absolutely brilliant cinematography, and the movie has an ending in which there's near the end where there's a psychopath who's we don't know who he's going to kill next, but inside the house there's a shadow of what's happening outside through a keyhole. So there's a light falling on the sofa and the walls through the keyholes of the door, and it creates a kind of a shimmering light play on the wall, and it we don't know what is going to happen next. It's kind of anticipates some kind of attack or somebody who's dangerous. So this has a certain feel like that. So yes, it's a beautiful image. Great job. Again, a great use of perspective. Also very mysterious. Great use of reflection, possibly in a zoo or somewhere, I would imagine. And yeah, again, a very, very classic use of foreground and background. Here, the background is like a reflection. It's a brilliant use. Great work. So we'll come to the winners. Third prize goes to Angshuman Paul. And yeah, like I said, it's a very, very interesting use of space, and almost a very existential questions about, maybe a person at the end of life. What do you look forward to? Something like that. Sagarneel's again, it's a classic. I would say Hitchcock or something. Even Tarkovsky, if it was color, it would have been Tarkovsky's image. Very foreboding and very mysterious. Great work. Soubik's work, again, got a first place simply because I don't understand it. So, So yeah, it's a brilliant image, I would say. Great work. Smartphone, again, I would emphasize again, it's really challenging to shoot with a smartphone. So hats off to all the guys who attempted to shoot with smartphone and did some really amazing work. So third prize is Sandip, play of reality and illusion. And Sagarneel, again, a great use of perspective and reflection. Okay, finally we come to Sannidh Raychaudhuri of Kolkata. Absolutely a brilliant image with play of reflection and illusion. Beyond just that, there's a lot of stuff going on in this image. Like there's a lot of geometrical objects, for example, and it just looks like image from a movie. And I think this image, I can think of like writing a short story on this image. This is it's so potent. Yeah, absolutely brilliant image, Shannon. Keep it up.